Could I please get a motion to return to regular session?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Mary?
Ms. Clayton?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. Bacala?
Yes.
Ms. Walrath?
Yes.
Ms. Gagliardi?
Yes.
Ms. Hafner?
Yes.
Mr. Lamella?
Yes.
So the mics are working now?
They are.
Yes. Okay, I need a motion to amend the agenda, to add to operations number 25, a motion to remove pupil 3793 from enrollment in the district pursuant to NJAC 6A 22-4.3 as an adult pupil not domiciled in Brick Township.
Motion.
Second.
And just so everybody's clear, that's just the motion to amend the agenda,
Correct.
not the vote on the motion.
Sorry, we didn't catch the first.
Who was the
Me.
motion?
Me.
Oh, Dave.
Ms. Clayton?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. Bacala?
Yes.
Ms. Walrath?
Yes.
Ms. Gagliardi?
Yes.
Ms. Hafner?
Yes.
And Mr. Lamella?
Yes. I know that Christian Brander was here and had to leave because he had another engagement, didn't realize that closed session would go so long. Is there a representative from Brick Memorial? I think the same thing might have happened. So we will not have our high school representatives this evening.
Okay. Can I get a motion, please, and a second to approve the minutes?
Motion. Second.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Can I get committee reports?
Any discussion on minutes?
Oh, any discussion on minutes? I apologize.
Oh, they look good to me.
Roll call.
Ms. Clayton?
Apologize.
Abstain.
Ms. Foster?
Abstain.
Ms. Bacala?
Yes.
Ms. Walrath?
Yes.
Ms. Gagliardi?
Yes.
Ms. Hafner?
Yes.
Mr. Lamella?
I abstain. I was at a family engagement.
Can I get committee reports, please? Mr. Edwards, do you want to start with facilities and finance?
Finance Committee met on January 3rd. Discussed in finance were the maintenance radios. Unfortunately, maintenance department had analog system with a repeater located on top of the hospital. The repeater has failed. It's no longer serviceable, so we're going to have to buy new digital radios because the analog radios no longer meet the FCC requirements. And so Mr. Colibus did have money in his budget for new radios, so he's going to move ahead with that purchase for digital radios for the maintenance department. And they're going to put them on the repeater will be placed on the same repeater that is a shared service with the township on their new antenna at the township building. We discussed the 18-19 budget and the process that we're in regards to meeting with program managers at this point and looking at budgetary requests. We talked about some local fundraising opportunities that we're going to share with local PTOs and PTAs in regards to Buffalo Wild Wings offering a Brick Township Schools Day. We discussed a consultant for class action settlements RFP that we've done. We've gone out to RFP 2 times for this service. There seems to be interest from consultants in helping Brick Township seek funds through class action settlements, but when we do the RFP, we're not getting any responses. So we're investigating that now as to why we're not getting responses from the vendors who seem like they're interested to see if there's a need to go out a 3rd time or not. We discussed the legal counsel for negotiations, which is on this evening's agenda for approval. We discussed the DRLAP Broadband Consortium, which is through the Educational Services Commission of New Jersey, which will help the district save money by piggybacking on the consortium with all the other school districts that are part of it in purchasing broadband. Discussed operational audit and funding that same for 2018-19's budget. and discuss the law firm change, which is on this evening's agenda, where Schwartz, Simon, Edelstein, and Celso is being changed to the Schwartz Edelstein Law Group. And you also said facilities for me too, right?
Facilities,
Yeah,
please.
okay, thanks.
Do you need a second? Do you want me to-
Yeah, let me pull up
Okay.
the agenda.
Human Resources?
Human Resources met. Just 2 items on the agenda, or 1 item on the agenda, that we are going to correct the salary for our principal, Ms. Goodfellow, because she just wasn't added on properly, accordance with the new range for the contract. So we're just going to fix that. That's why that's on the agenda. Otherwise, everything else is routine.
Do you want to move right into curriculum?
We did not meet yet this month in curriculum.
Okay. Policy?
We met, we reviewed 16 policies that are on tonight's agenda, and that's all. We met, we reviewed them, the language seemed fair and appropriate, and I didn't have any questions for Mr. Filippone or Mr. Edwards or the attorney.
Mr. Edwards?
Thank you, I'm now ready, thank you. Facilities Committee met on January 3rd. Topics discussed were the Vets parking lot improvements and the Brick Township High School East parking lot improvements. Both projects have received all of their closeout documents and are 100% complete at this point. There is some minor punch list items at Vets parking lot in regards to the, there's some puddling that the contractors agreed to come back and fix once the weather gets a little warmer. It's been kind of cold lately, if you haven't noticed. We're also going to be having, Netta Architectural is going to help us when we're doing that parking lot. There was notice that the water meter pit is in need of replacement. If you're out in that parking lot now, you'll see there's a steel plate over it. So we're going to be asking Netta Architectural to help us design and go out to bid for the replacement of that water meter pit so we can have a completed parking lot. We discussed the Brick Township High School track improvements. And the fact that it's right now in attorney-to-attorney review and discussions. We discussed the Warren H. Wolf roof, the fact that it is 100% complete. However, we haven't received all of our closeout documents. And not to be disparaging, my experience with roofing contractors is that can take some time with closeout documents. We discussed the local government energy audit. We're still waiting on the transportation building to be completed. The local government energy audit officials have asked for information on the rooftop units, which Mr. Colobus and his crew are providing. The power purchase agreement and the solar panel issue that we have at Emma Havens is still being investigated, and all solar panels throughout the district are still turned off. We discussed that there is a minimum amount of kilowatts that will be generated by the solar panels, and New Jersey, NJR, New Jersey Natural Resources, has to guarantee us that amount, so there will be a reconciliation done at the end of the year. We had a celebration because I announced to the board, to the committee rather, that the Brick Township High School boiler HVAC project finally received its certificate of approval, and that project is now deemed 100% complete. It's a project that's been, I think we began that in 2015, so it's been a long time. Mr. Colobus discussed the Brick Memorial High School, Brick Township High School, and Vets Memorial Middle School door project, which we had to reject the bids for. We're hiring a company to come certify the frames. It was determined that the issue with the bids being higher than we expected was that all the contractors assumed that they had to replace the door frames because the current door frames, being they're so old, do not have fire-rated stickers on them. So we're going to have a company come in to determine whether or not those frames actually do need to be replaced and hopefully be able to save some money and bring the project back within budget. Mr. Colobus discussed the district-wide painting initiative that was budgeted for this year. This building is complete. The Brick Township High School auditorium is complete, and they are working over the next couple of weeks on completing the door frames. Lake River Middle School lintel issues is contractor's been hired. Its work is being scheduled for the demolition work, where they're going to do constructive demolition around the lintels to try to determine what is causing the rusting issue of the lintels, and then they'll actually make the repairs. At that point, the architect will actually be able to do a design to tell us what needs to be done to correct the issue. We discussed the Osborneville Elementary School classroom paint issues. There's one wing in the building where the paint seems to be bubbling. It was sanded off this summer. No moisture was detected. It was repainted, and it's already rebubbling. So we're having the architect look at that issue for us as well to try to determine how the moisture is entering into the block. We also talked about there are cracks that have been identified at Lake River Middle School and Emma Havens Young. We had the architect look at both of the buildings' cracks to make sure there was no structural or safety issues. He assured us that there is not. We've asked him to obtain the services of a structural engineer so we can determine what settlement is happening that is causing the cracks to appear. And it was a long agenda.
Yeah, it was.
We discussed the Veterans Memorial Middle School Auditorium HVAC project that we would like to complete in the summer of 2018, and the architectural fee for the design and bidding of that project is on this evening's agenda. We discussed the Drum Point Elementary School roof, which is in dire need of replacement. And again, that's on this evening's agenda for the architect to do the design and bidding phase of that project. We discussed Lake River Middle School's locker room showers. They're non-operational at this point because there's leaking within the walls, and we're going to take some additional looks at that to see whether or not something else can be done within the facility, or if the showers are even needed at this point, because as we were told by the principal and director of facilities, wrestling is the only ones that use them. And I know Stephanie and I both were kind of ew, but as having a middle school student, I actually know that he does not shower after gym class. And he has first period gym, so that's really gross, right? Mr. Colobus requested to use funds that he had left over from the summer for painting to be used over spring break to bring some of our sub-custodial workers in to have them paint over spring break, and the committee was okay with that. We discussed Brick Memorial High School's Color Guard would like to place a temporary trailer at Herbertsville to store their equipment, which will save us money by not having to have a driver drive their equipment truck back and forth from Herbertsville to the school. So we approved that through the committee. And finally, Mr. Colobus presented his 18-19 capital budget request, which we hope that we can afford, because there's a lot of good things that Mr. Colobus has presented that we would like to be able to fund, some of which you've already approved the architect to proceed with, such as the Drum Point Elementary School roof and the HVAC systems at Vitz Middle School, Veterans Elementary School, and Brick Township High School. Whether we're going to be able to afford all of that will all be vetted out through the budgetary process. I think his total number was for capital projects in the summer of 2018 was somewhere around $3 million, which is, pretty. I mean, in the last couple of years, that's right around where we've been. So it wasn't like it was outrageous in regards to capital project needs of the district, but at the same time, I don't know budgetarily how that's all going to shake out at this point.
Great, thank you. Superintendent?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Walram. First, I would like to begin by welcoming Mrs. Foster and Ms. Clayton to the board, and once again thanking Mrs. Cantillo and Mr. Barton for their many years of outstanding service. When the storm came last week, I had a very special nervousness, not only about whether we were going to be able to get school open and those types of things, but the fact that on Monday, January 8th, we were scheduled to have our CUSAC evaluation. For those of you that don't know what that is, that's when the Department of Education, through the County Superintendent's Office, comes into the district and basically does an evaluation of your different processes. The focus of this year's CUSAC was on our curriculum and instruction. And I have to give special thanks to Mrs. McNamara, because while many of us were shoveling, she found a way to get here. And I know that she was here Friday and Saturday and worked through that weekend so that we were prepared. The teachers and supervisors did a marvelous job. And the people from the county office took some time to speak with me and told me how impressed they were with the programs that we've put in place to improve our test scores and the progress that we're making in those efforts. So a special thanks to our supervisors, and especially you, Mrs. McNamara, for your work in that and your efforts with that. I'd like to also thank the maintenance crew. I spent some time with them on Thursday and Friday, and I will tell you that there were real doubts on Saturday morning whether we were going to be able to be in school on Monday. And if it weren't for their efforts and help from the township, and I have to say that, the township provided us with front-end loaders to move the snow, as you see in these large piles. Our equipment could not do that. And without their help and without the work of those folks, it would have been really difficult for us to get in even on Monday. The drifting of the snow, especially at this site, was amazing. And those guys worked from 6 in the morning till some of them 8 or 9 o'clock at night during those times, and did a great job getting it ready for us to be back in on Monday. And finally, just a little public service reminder that tomorrow evening at Brook Township High School, the township, in conjunction with the prosecutor's office, will be holding an evening to knock out drugs in our community. The event is co-sponsored by our district. I look forward to seeing many of you at what I believe is a really important event. It's a crisis that goes unnoticed by a lot of people, but it has a tremendous effect on everything that goes on in our community, in our schools, and it's a battle that certainly needs to be fought. And hopefully tomorrow will be a first step in reinvigorating our community to get a call to action in that respect. So thank you, Mrs. Walrab.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. One last thing. On January 26th, it is a pro day for the district. But because of the fire that took place at Emma Havens Young School early in September, the state is very clear that all students have to attend school for 180 days. They did not have enough hours that day. We got them home around 11 o'clock. They would have had to been in school till 12:15 in order for that day to count. So on January 26th, the students and staff at Emma Havens will be in school for half a day to make up that one day so that they also have 180 days in the school year. A letter has gone out. It's on the website. A letter is going out to all the parents to let them know, and that is how we're going to remedy that situation that took place. Thank you, Ms. Walrab.
Thank you. Curriculum and instruction, Ms. McNamara?
Thank you, Mrs. Walrab. Curriculum and instruction, the acting superintendent recommends that the board approve the following items 1 through 3.
Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Oh.
Second?
Discussion?
No.
Public discussion? Comments? Mary?
Ms. Clayton?
Oh, sorry, Ms. Walrab, please,
sorry.
there's,
Oh, I apologize, Mr. Campbell.
It has to be on 1, 2, and 3 in curriculum, Mr. Campbell.
No one else? I apologize, Mr. Campbell. No? Okay. No, Mary.
Ms. Clayton?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. Pacala?
Yes.
Ms. Walrab?
Yes.
Ms. Gagliardi?
Yes.
Ms. Hafner?
Yes.
Mr. Lamella?
Yes.
Operations, Mr. Edwards?
yes, the acting superintendent recommends the boards approve items 1 through 25.
I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second?
Board discussion? Public
Public
comment?
comment.
Yes.
Karen Cusinelli, 113 Duchess Lane. With regards to the Finance Committee meeting on January 3rd, which board members were in attendance at that? Just you?
No.
Oh, Ms. Bacala, I
And
believe.
Ms. Pacala.
And what about the facilities on January 3rd? Just you?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. In number 11, the legal counsel for negotiations, I was just curious, is that the same firm that's former Governor Jim Florio's firm?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. And in number 12 and number 13, those were both no-bid contracts?
They are the same professionals that we've had, and yes, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes,
That's-
no, I bet.
They're the architect of record.
Right.
Okay. And is this the same firm that was involved with the Brick High School track project?
Yes, they're the architect of record.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Campbell?
Walt Campbell, 655 Mark Manor. This is in relation to the Drum Point contract and the Vets Middle School contract, right? First off, on the Drum Point, the roof on it is going to be pitched. It's a flat roof, but is it going to be pitched? Do you know that?
Yeah, flat roofs are all slightly pitched, yes.
I mean, really pitched?
They're all slightly
Like we
pitched.
did at Brick, at that one roof off the top?
Yeah, they have to be pitched in order to properly drain.
I mean, a real serious pitch.
They have to be pitched to drain. I don't know how else to answer that for you. Sorry.
Now, is it rolled in tar? Is it going to be stretched membrane? What's it going to be?
It hasn't been designed yet. What they're approving this evening is for the architect to actually do the design on the roof. There's no design that's occurred yet.
Uh-huh. Okay, and on contingency, in the contingency, the 15%, does that include abatement?
Does that include abatement?
Yeah.
I would assume it would. But actually,
Assumption?
no,
Every time we assume something, we wind up
yeah, so
getting whacked for it.
contingency is for things that are unknown. So if there's asbestos material contained in within that roof, then that would be identified during the design.
Right,
It
but
would
it
be
would come
included.
under the 38,000 or whatever it is.
No, it actually would come under the abatement, would be part of the construction costs.
Okay,
So it would be part of the larger number, the $1 million number.
all right, so it wouldn't be an additional cost. It's somewhere it would be under contingency. We don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, if abatement is needed, it's going to be part of the bid documents, and the contract will be required to do the abatement.
Okay. Now, while they're doing this roof, what's the condition of the sister school, Lanes Mill, their roof? They were built about the same time.
Yeah, it's not in the greatest shape, but it's not in as bad a shape as Drum Point. That'll probably be the next roof that would need to be done.
Okay, so it's on the radar.
It's on the radar, yes.
Okay. Because whatever happens at Drum Point happens at Lanes Mill. All right, at the Vets Middle, what's the age of that roof there, where they're putting the rooftop unit? I think it's getting readied.
No.
No?
Vets Middle's roof was done since I've been here, so it's less than 10 years old. I want to say it was.
Just that one section. There's 3 or 4 different sections, and they're all been done at different times.
Yeah, so this section is where the auditorium is, and that's part of the section that was done
Okay,
since I've been here, and I've been here for 10 years, so it's been within the last 10 years.
all right. Now they seem to have a problem or wondering about whether the gas company is going to have to alter something there. We are both aware that the heating units in that place are over 46 years old. Correct?
I don't know that, but, you
Yeah,
know,
it
I
is
believe
a
you have to
fact.
say that. I don't
Yeah.
know.
So there's possibilities that maybe it isn't going to work out. So next thing you know, we have to replace one of those heating units. Anyway, I hope somebody keeps an eye on it because I don't trust these people after they screwed up the track. As a matter of fact, while we're on this subject and these guys, who are you suing for the track? There's only one person that's was in charge of it, and that's the architect.
So,
Maybe
yeah.
I'll answer that question. First of all, we're not in litigation, and the
Yeah.
short answer to your question, the people that we're in discussion with are the contractors that actually constructed the track. So your comment is a little misplaced, but, so
Oh.
the short answer is, we're not in litigation, we're in discussion
Okay.
with the contractor who is responsible for
All right.
construction of the track.
Here's the bottom line. You set up the perimeter with a curbing. You set up the inner perimeter with a drain trench. They have to be perfectly aligned all the way around before they put the foundation in and before they put the final paving in. Why didn't they measure it then? They're supposed to come out there bi-weekly, and that doesn't just occur overnight. That takes a few weeks to get that straightened out. And then, when you do finally use and put the paving in, that takes a few days to do that too. Why weren't they out there observing that then? How could you miss a half a foot? That is the architect's fault, because they're supposed to be there twice a week from beginning to end. No ifs, ands, and buts. And now you got them off on these other projects. I get nervous, because if you remember correctly, when we first got started with this, I told you it was too much money. $1.5 million. I told you were getting hosed. Come back, I congratulate Mr. Barton on getting it reduced. But then I find out, oh, well, we didn't realize there's only 6 lanes in a high school track. And then you begin to wonder, what are we dealing with here? They thought it was an 8-lane track. They charged us $1.5 million, and it should have been half the cost. And then the bottom line is, and I don't know who talked Mr. Barton out of it, I gave him a letter where we could have had it done A to Z and cut out all the architect and middlemen. Saved another $200,000. But oh no, we got to take care of our donors. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Finelli.
Mr. Finelli.
Could I first make a suggestion, which I've made in the past? If we have somebody here that's not normally up here, you could tell us who it is, like the gentleman representing the legal firm. Could you tell us who you are so I don't make a mistake?
Mr. Montenegro has been here for the last 5 meetings.
My name continues to be, and I know you and I have had many discussions, but it still is Ben Montenegro from the law firm of Montenegro,
Okay.
Thompson, Montenegro, and Gann.
I didn't hear you answer Mr. Campbell's question, and I don't know whether you thought he was just spouting off or not about no bid net of contracts, okay? But I'm going to go back to the track, and you said his comment was a little off, all right? I don't know exactly what comment you meant by you said he was a little off, but I got the impression that you were saying that the architect doesn't have any responsibility.
I didn't say that. I wasn't going to argue with him about his opinion on things. He's entitled to those opinions. I don't necessarily agree with all the facts he had to say, but this is public comment. That's his opportunity to say so.
Okay. Well, my question is, why are we giving no-bid contracts to the architect who did not do their job on the track? And I'm not going to spout my emotional part of it. I'm going to read to you from the contract, which I hope most of you have read, because there's 2 contracts up on the agenda tonight for that architect. And under Phase 5, Construction Administration, item number 3 on the contract, perform bi-weekly site visits during construction activities to monitor the contractor performance in accordance to the contract documents. All right? So very clearly in the contract that that architect has a responsibility to monitor the construction. Either they didn't do it or they did it very shabbily and the track didn't get built to specifications. That's the architect's responsibility based on the contracts that you voted on. So why are we giving no bid contracts to somebody that made a major screw up on one of the last projects that they did? Can somebody answer that?
Your representation about,
Right.
Can you speak into the microphone, please?
your representation regarding major screw-ups is your opinion, you're entitled to it. We are negotiating, my firm, with the contractor to resolve the issues that exist at the track. I'm not going to discuss the nature of those discussions any further because it is potential litigation.
I'm not asking you to discuss it, and don't tell me that this is my opinion. I just read to you from the contract, word for word. If you read the contract, it's right in there. If you don't, pick it up on your computer and look at it. That's not my opinion. That's what I'm reading to you off the contract, that they have a responsibility to biweekly inspect the work, like Mr. Campbell said. He might have said it emotionally. You might have thought he was making it up. I'm not making it up. I'm reading it off the contract that you're voting on tonight. So why are we giving more work to somebody that didn't do their job on a major screw-up? And I don't really want an answer from you because you're not giving the work to the contractor. The school board is voting on it, and the school administration is asking him to vote on it. So I would like somebody to say, why are we going with somebody on a no-bid deal again? In fact, everything on tonight's agenda is no bid. Why are we doing that for somebody that did a major screw-up?
Thank you. Just interject something.
Somebody want to answer
There's a
that?
piece- Mr. Finelli, I'm not sure if you heard my comment on this last month when Mr. Campbell brought this up, so I'll say it again. And what you're saying is correct. That's what the contract does say. And we can't get into specifics of the negotiations with the contractor and the architect in regards to the track because of what Mr. Montenegro said, potential litigation. However, it is our opinion, my opinion, which I'm entitled to as well, that this is not an architectural mistake. The architect did not make this mistake. The contractor has already admitted to making the mistake. And so we are negotiating through that process, and I said this at the last meeting to Mr. Campbell, that the architect is actually the one who found the mistake. He is the one who reported the mistake and brought the contractor to the table to get it corrected. So you're asking a question about why we are proceeding with an architect that you perceive made a mistake, and I'm telling you, we don't perceive he made a mistake, and we believe their firm to be a good firm. That's why we continue using them. We believe that the work that they're providing is good. We have no issue with them.
So you believe that they honored their contract
I do.
by inspecting the work bi-weekly,
I
but
do.
they didn't discover this error
They
until
did.
all the work was done?
You don't know that. You're making an assumption. You're making an assumption and putting an assumption out there that they didn't discover it until the work was done. And that's not a correct assumption, I can tell you that. I told Mr. Campbell that at the last meeting. That's not a correct assumption. So you got to stop that assuming things. You don't know all the facts. We can't give you all the facts.
You don't want to give us all
We
the facts?
can't give you all the facts. It's
Okay.
potential litigation. We can't put that out in public. It would be not in the board and you as a taxpayer's best interest to discuss potential litigation openly so that the contractor who potentially you could be in a lawsuit against knows all your cards.
Okay, then
You wouldn't do that.
Let me ask a broader question, since you did such a good job of sidestepping that one. Why are we
I'm not
going with no
sidestepping
bid
anything.
contracts in the
Mr.
first
Finelli,
place?
I'm not sidestepping that one. I'm giving you a factual answer. You said you want to talk about facts and that you don't want to get emotional. I'm giving you facts. That's a fact.
But Jim, somewhere along the line, and I'm not an expert in construction or building tracks, somebody starts work, somebody starts laying out things. I don't know how long it took to build that track, but I'm sure it's more than 2 weeks.
And you don't know when the mistake was discovered, and you don't know when the contractor was told to stop work, and you don't know why the contractor may have continued the work. You don't know all the facts. You're making a lot of assumptions.
Well,
you
I
shouldn't
know-
do that.
did
My
we-
mother taught me when I was young, don't assume, because you ever heard what it
Yeah,
means?
yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't do that. I don't assume.
Was
I
it-
go by facts.
was the
Now, to
track
answer your
completed?
second question, which I answered a long time ago, but I'll be more than happy to answer it for you again.
Was
We
the-
have done a request for proposal for architectural record years ago. The firm that the board selected was DeCaro Rubino and is based upon their rates that they provided to us. We did not see, and it's kind of like when you're having a medical procedure done, we believe that the architect that you want to work with should not be based upon low price, but it should be based on fair price and their professionalism. And so this board has chosen an architectural firm that they believe to be professional, and that firm is charging the same fee, same rate structure that the previous architect, the Carabino, was charging that was done through an RFP process. The law says that because we didn't appoint NETA under a request for proposal, it's considered non-fair and open. But in my opinion, it's fair and open because it's the same rate that we're paying to Carabino that was done through a request for proposal.
Okay, answer my question. How much of the track got completed?
I can't get into facts with you on
Whoa,
that. I
whoa,
just told
whoa.
you that.
That has nothing to do with
How
litigation
much
or
of the
anything
track
else.
got-
That's why I'm saying you sidestep me. How much of the track got completed? You're not, that's nothing legal about that. How much of it got completed?
It's
All of it?
usable now.
20%? 50%? What?
It's usable right now.
How much?
It's usable right now. The kids are using it.
You didn't answer my question.
I did answer your question. It's usable right now.
So got 100% completed.
Not to specification, but yes.
Okay.
Mr.
I mean, I don't know how to answer that.
Now, just let me finish and then I'll sit down. Right? So let me tell you what I think you said, Mr. Edwards, right? The architect is the one who discovered this. You don't want to tell me when they discovered it, and you don't want, and you mentioned maybe the builder, even though it was discovered it was the wrong size, kept on building it. All I know is you got a track that's totally complete, but you don't want to say that. You want to say they're using it. So I'm assuming, again,
I'm
that the
telling
track
you-
is 100% complete.
Finelli, I've learned that you have to be careful with your words, especially with you.
Yeah, you better believe be careful with your words.
I'm not going to say it's totally complete because I don't believe it's totally complete because it's not complete to specification.
Yes.
So it's not totally
I
complete.
agree with you.
It's usable.
I agree with you.
So when you ask me, is it 100% complete? I can't answer you that. So stop trying to put words in my mouth. I did not tell you that.
And answer that, Jim.
Stop
Just
putting words in
not-
people's mouths. I'm tired of it. I've had it.
Is all the work done on the track that they're going
I
to do?
answered your question,
You did
sir.
not. Don't tell
I
me you
answered
answered.
your question, and that's enough.
You did not answer my question, and you didn't answer
I
it.
answered both of your questions. I've had it with it.
Okay.
Stop trying to put words in people's mouth and make this board seem as though things are controversial when the only people that have a controversy is you.
Excuse me. Okay, okay, okay. Yes. You're, yes.
A fact to follow.
Thank you.
Timer. Got the timer.
Can I borrow that?
Timer.
With regard to discussion on the solar failure at Emma Havens,
Emma Havens, yes.
will a report be coming out as to what the nature of the failure was and what the corrective action has been? You said the other systems are shut down, so I assume it's a generic problem?
So it's
I'm assuming that.
it's what I would if you
Yeah.
it's more technical than I'll be able to describe to you, but I'm going to give you the layman's terms.
But it wasn't human error, or something else?
No, it's a design issue. It's for some reason the JCP&L transformer allowed positive voltage to come back on the neutral, which caused the blowout.
Right.
And because of that, there is a fix that needs to be made in each one of the gearboxes. But in order for that fix to occur, the entire power to the whole building needs to be shut down. We can't do that while school's in session. So we're looking at dates right now when school power can be shut down, probably over spring break. And they're going to go and make that fix in every one of the buildings.
That would imply, again, I'm assuming that it's a JCP&L issue that caused the first failure. Is that fair or unfair?
I don't know enough about the whole electrical process.
But you did mention that.
But it's my understanding that NJR and JCP&L are working out the cost of the repair.
Okay.
So it's something that the two of them have agreed on what has caused the problem.
And I assume they're going to check the other schools to assure that problem can't occur.
Well, right now, all the solar panel systems, except for Brick Memorial, which is not part of that system, are shut down.
Right, okay.
So, yeah, they're going to make the same repair at every building.
Will there be a report issued on the outcome and the corrective action taken? to the
I
public?
don't know that there'll be a report issued. They're going to tell us that the system, they're going to certify to us that the system is safe and operational again. Remember, we don't own the system.
Right.
It's just sitting on our roofs. So, and as I assured the committee already, we were concerned at one point that while the system is down, we're not getting 4 cents a kilowatt, we're paying 14 cents a kilowatt, and it's costing us 10 cents more than we should be paying. But because there's a reconciliation built in with our contract, Those panels have to generate a certain amount of electric in a given year, and if they don't, NJR owes us the difference of what we paid versus what we should have paid.
So we're not at economic risk at all in the end, if I heard you correctly?
Financially, no.
Okay.
Right.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other, Mr. Campbell, just one second, see if anybody else, and then I'll call you up again. Is there any other public comment? No,
Then Mr. Campbell.
Mhm.
I want to clear up a few things. First, to the attorney. It's not an opinion, okay? It's factual. I spent many hours being involved, heavily involved in the track at Brick Memorial High School. And it's a state of the art. So I don't want to hear that I'm talking from opinion. Understood? That's all I'm going to say there. Next.
I think he's talking to you.
You mentioned the Rubino outfit.
Jerry Rubino, yes,
Yeah.
Jerry Rubino.
Okay. I want to clear something up there. His firm, through Ms. Bacala down there and the former intern superintendent, they come on the fresh newbies and they chastise this man, told him his work was no good. Okay, we're not going to bring that up anymore. However, the projects that he's done, okay, a lot of them came in under budget, and you benefited by it with additional windows, put some of it towards parking, and I think it was well over $1 million if Jim would go through all the stuff that they did. And I don't like the fact that they were slammed, because they're a very reputable firm. But politics comes in once again. So that was just downright nasty. Coming in newbies and really crucifying that particular architectural firm. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Any other public comment? Mary?
Ms. Clayton?
Yes to all except for 25? No.
No.
No on 25.
Ms. Foster?
Yes to all but 5, regular check 18-04672 and number 11. Abstain on both.
Ms. Bacala?
Yes to 1 through 24. No to 25.
Ms. Walrath?
Yes to all, except I'm abstaining from number 11.
Ms. Gagliardi?
Yes to all.
Ms. Hafner?
Oh, sorry.
Yes to all.
Mr. Lamella?
Yes.
Human Resources.
The acting superintendent recommends that the board approve the following items, 1 through 21. And what I would like to do before we go through those items is ask, I see a lot of you in the audience, people that we're hiring on this agenda. Could you please stand and be recognized by the board as well as those folks that are here? Come on, stand up, all of you. This is a wonderful group of teachers. We work very hard to get them, and we're very fortunate to have them on board. So the Board of Education and certainly the acting superintendent wishes you all well. And we know that you're going to do a wonderful job. So we're glad to have you here. You're all free to go at this point.
Okay.
This is a night
I
back.
need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
Board discussion? Public discussion?
I have a question about number 6, and I know Mr. Hurchenko is here, so I'm asking questions whether you're here or not. Don't take it personally, all right? For my information, I'm asking these questions. Number 1, why are we putting in an acting principal rather than a full-time principal?
You have more, or you want me to answer them as you go?
Oh, you want to answer them as I go, or?
You tell me.
Yeah, answer that one. I only have 2.
Why don't you ask them both, and then maybe I can
Okay.
put them together.
And at $160,000 existing salary, why are we giving a $6,000 raise to be the principal of probably the smallest school in the district?
I can answer that.
I hope so.
The reason that we're asking Mr. Ursenko, who, and I don't have to go over his credentials or the outstanding career that he's had here in Brick. He is a consummate educator who will do a marvelous job at Herbertsville. We did not, out of the interview process, come up with we have 2 openings, one at Vets and one at Vets-L and one at Herbertsville. We did not come up with 2 candidates at that time that we believed were strong enough candidates. So we're going to go back out, we're going to re-interview in the hopes that we can find a candidate either from inside the district or from outside the district that could fill that role. Until we can do that, we're asking Mr. Hursenko to move to Herbertsville. We are in the process of doing everything that we can, and I think we're very close to getting a interim science supervisor to help Mr. Hursenko with the work that he's started as a science supervisor. If we can bring that person on board, we're gonna do that so that we are not hurting any part of the district. The reason that Mr. Hursenko's salary, and it's a prorated salary first, 166 would be the entire year's salary. He's only going to be there, we hope he's only going to be there from now until July 1st. So it's actually around a $2,500 additional dollars. There is a portion of the contract that states that if a administrator moves from, I hate to say lower position to higher position, but if you're a supervisor and you move to a principalship, that you are eligible to receive the additional stipend, whatever that was. So the difference in the supervisor stipend and the principal stipend is what you're seeing as his raise. When you look at the whole thing, the district actually is saving between $28,000 and $32,000 based on how many days the interim science supervisor works. So even though it appears that that is a large number, the district in the entire, when you look at the entire package from a financial standpoint, the district actually is going to save money.
Okay, I hope you didn't think I was questioning his qualifications.
No, I just wanted to make it clear that we think we have a great, great principal at Herbertsville.
But his salary, $160,000 right now, is based partially on
The fact that he was a superintendent
that he
prior.
was a superintendent. So he's on the high end already, because I see also on the agenda that you're adjusting a salary that somebody mentioned before. That person is going to be the principal at one of the other elementary schools, and they're making $127,000.
Correct.
So there's a big difference between 170 and 160. And my question is, doesn't 160 enough money to manage one of the smaller schools in the district? I mean, I'm watching every dollar because I know you're going to be doing the budget pretty soon.
I understand your position. I believe that from a contractual standpoint, and we had Mr. Montenegro review the contract, and it was also his belief that that clause in the contract does not preclude us from, doesn't preclude us, as a matter of fact, it makes us, it's part of the contract, Mr. Finelli, for lack of a better.
So if somebody becomes an interim something or an acting something.
Well, I'll use myself as an example. I went from director of operations to acting superintendent, and I received the difference in what those two positions would pay.
But you weren't at his salary, which was.
I was above his salary.
The superintendent's salary.
Right.
He didn't take a big cut when he stepped down from superintendent to his existing job.
Mr. Ursenko has been frozen at his salary for many years.
Right.
So, and he's not complaining about it, and we're not complaining
Neither
about
am I.
it, but
Neither am I. I mean, you did what you did, but I did, my own gut feeling is to put somebody in an acting job when they're making that much money and give them more money, even though it might only be for a short period. I don't know if it takes 6 months to get a principal or what. You answered my question.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Mr. Campbell?
Mr. Campbell?
Number 19, District School Safety Specialist.
Yes.
What's the job description on that?
Actually a new position. It came out in a DOE broadcast just last week. The state is mandating by January 17th that every school district designates a school safety specialist. The role it's got some vague outlines right now. There's actually a training being put together for late May or early June where these folks will actually go out to Trenton and be trained by the DOE. But it really is safety from a school building standpoint. I'll use something that you have been involved in and you would understand. If we were going to develop a building, not a referendum, but a capital projects that would enhance safety, like vestibules, like upgraded PA systems, whatever it might be, he would, from a district level, be involved in those processes. He's also responsible for the school's individual safety plans, foreseeing and overseeing the drills that take place. There are many things involved, and it's a brand new position. So for me to say exactly what it would be would probably not be, but that's kind of the basis of it.
Now you got a good man there for it.
We believe we do.
Tenacity, yeah. Wrestling coaches are bad news. They get the job done.
Well,
right?
I know a couple of them.
Sir.
All right. Is he still the vice principal
He's
also?
an assistant principal at Brick Township Memorial
Yeah.
High School.
And he's got time for this? This is very extensive.
He was willing to take it on, and there's no additional stipend or any kind of pay for it. He's a person who believes in doing what's right for the district, and he was more than willing to take it on.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess some of the stuff wouldn't come under his job description, like checklists on all emergency exit signs and lights and stuff in each one of the buildings.
I think those are things that he would do in conjunction with Mr. Kolobus,
right.
make sure that we're in compliance with all of the regulations regarding what we need in schools and as far as signage and those kinds of things.
And all the exterior lighting.
Correct.
Outside on the poles in the building, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, as much as he can get involved in.
Well, there's a whole list. I can give him a whole list. The other thing is, this building, did we ever get a test on the exterior walls between?
Mr. Campbell, I can't answer that. I don't know. I don't want to put Mr. Edwards on the spot. He's been on it enough, whether we have that or not.
It's not really part of this section of the agenda, but the answer is yes, there is indoor air quality tests that were performed on this building.
Not the building, between the walls. The
Indoor air quality test, that's what you would do.
EPIS and behind the sheetrock on the exterior walls.
While Dr. Uzinski was here, they removed the sheetrock from the interior
That's why I'm
walls.
concerned, because you told me there was no sheetrock after Doc's part that was purchased for any place around here.
I told you there was no I'm not really even sure what you're talking about there. While Dr. Uzinski was here, this building was renovated, or remediated,
Part of it.
I'll say. No, not part of it. This building was remediated. This whole building was shut down and remediated from where you walk in the front door all the way down to here. It was remediated, and they removed the sheetrock to the exterior walls.
That's what I wanted to know.
They
It
created,
all got, okay.
They created a plenum, and they then reinstalled the unit ventilators in the sheetrock, and then did indoor air quality tests, and that's when Dr. Uzinski's office, when he was used to be up by me, as you know, all moved down here when they got the indoor air quality test clearance. So it's been clear since then.
they do anything with the edge of the EPIS all the way along the bottom of the building on the outside?
It was tested and determined that it was a mildew. It was washed and painted. It's not mold, it's
Well,
mildew.
well, the problem is with EPIS. That's the last thing to go. It starts from the inside. As soon as you get moisture in there, it deteriorates from the inside.
Yeah, we're not getting moisture on the inside. The indoor air quality test determined that that's not an issue.
Especially this time of year with the snow all
Yeah,
backed up under that.
You know, years ago, prior to all the building being shut down, they used to get the floors would be wet.
Mhm.
That's not an issue. And the ventilators are operating, we got the dampers opening, it's,
Oh, it just, okay.
so
One
the
thing,
building's in good shape, and has been since, like I
Okay.
said, since Dr. Uzinski and their central
All
office
right.
moved down here.
all right. Last thing, Jim. Can you check to make sure they didn't pile snow up on that door at Brick Memorial Gym by the boys' locker room? Do you remember the last time they did that?
Yeah, I'll have somebody check it.
Because it's starting to melt now. Guarantee they probably did.
Thank you, Mr. Yes.
Ms. Costelli.
Ms. Costelli.
Just had a couple questions. When did the HR committee meet, and which board members were in attendance?
I think you answered that already. When,
No, human resources.
oh, human
3rd.
resources.
Sean, January 3rd? Yes.
And
We had some backed up scheduling problems that day, and we had to divide and conquer in order to have our meetings. So I was in that meeting with Ms. Walrab and Mr. Philippone and Mr. Cranston.
Thank you. I just wasn't clear about something in number 6. Will Mr. Hersenko be returning to the position of science supervisor?
in all likelihood, yes.
Okay. I wasn't clear on that, thank you. But, and you had talked about having an interim in that position for the time being for science?
We are asking a former science supervisor from the district if she would be willing to come in and act as an interim to pick up that slack so that that department, which is obviously in need of supervision.
Oh, sure,
will
very
have-
important with
will have-
STEAM and STEM and,
Right, we'll
yes.
have somebody do that. I've asked Mr. Hersenko, asking people a lot, I'm asking Mr. Hersenko to remain with the STEM program because that's something that he has been involved with, you know. And if we need to give him some time at Herbertsville, we can rotate an assistant principal or somebody in to cover that building so he can still be involved with STEM.
Was that interim science job posted?
I don't believe it was, no. Well, we don't have one yet, so.
Okay. Also, with
It will be
regards,
posted. It will be posted.
you had mentioned that you didn't find 2 candidates that you needed for those principal positions. How many applicants were there for the principal's jobs?
I don't have the number, of total number of applicants. Sean could probably get that for us right now, but there were many applicants. And we interviewed, I know we interviewed at least 8 candidates from inside and outside the district, and had 3 rounds of interviews. And there were folks that were strong, but we just didn't feel at this time that we had 2 candidates that we wanted to move forward.
Thank you. And in numbers 7 and number 12, the coaching positions, I know in the past we've always put an asterisk next to anyone who is not an in-district teacher, and I didn't see any. Am I correct then that all of the coaches are in-district teachers?
There's 2 asterisks.
There are,
On number 8, there's 2 asterisks on the one I'm looking at.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at number 7 and number 12, I believe, unless something changed since I...
No, you're correct. Mhm.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the person that we're putting on this agenda was within district. There's a couple openings that are left that are still being interviewed and everything else. Will be
Okay,
on the agenda.
great.
They could be on next.
Excellent, thank you. And just with regards to the district school safety specialist, I'm familiar that that was a rule that was, a law that was passed. Does that job, because I know it also, when I had read about it, includes some of the bullying issues as part of the safety. Does that negate the need or change the bullying coordinator? This
It
is
does
just in
not.
addition? They
No,
will work in
there's-
conjunction with one another?
In fact, the state is still saying that you need both positions.
Because there was some overlap from what I read.
There may be, but we definitely will need both of those positions.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other public comment? No?
Ms. Clayton?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. Pacala?
Yes.
Ms. Walrath?
Yes.
Ms. Gagliardi?
Yes.
Ms. Hafner?
Yes.
Mr. Lamella?
Yes.
Mr. Philippon, policies?
The acting superintendent asked the board to approve, number 1, policies on second reading.
I need a motion and a
I
second.
make a motion.
Second.
Board discussion? Public comment? Yes. We're on policy.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Come on up.
I gotta get to them so I can open.
There's an awful lot of policies there that you're voting on tonight. Are we to assume, there's that word that Mr. Edwards likes, are we to assume that all of the school board members, including the new school board members, have read and understand and agree with all of these policies, or if they don't agree with them, they're going to vote against them?
Again, assuming, and I sometimes like to agree with Mr. Edwards, sometimes don't. My assumption would be, yes, that the school board members looked at the policies, and I do have board members call me all the time with questions. As a matter of fact, I fielded some questions on policies from some board members today.
Okay.
And yes, so my assumption, and I can't speak for them all because I'm not, I wasn't there when they were doing it.
You like to answer my question, so I probably should have put this one a little different. I'd like to ask all of the people that are voting on these policies, have they read them, and do they understand them, and do they agree with them? Because the agenda only came up on the website last night.
But these are second readings. These policies were on the agenda last month.
Right.
These are not new policies. They've been there. So they've had all of December and all of January.
Okay.
To look at those policies.
So yes would be?
Respectfully, Mr. Finelli, I'll answer for the board in that case. I don't think we want to poll them individually. I have great faith that they take their job seriously and that they looked at those policies. Now, I can't certainly speak for, Mrs. Foster or Mrs. Clayton because they became board members tonight. So they're conscious. They'll have to lead them as to how they vote on the policies.
If they vote, then my assumption would be that they read and understand it.
Correct.
And if I was to throw a little test out there on one of them, I wonder what the reaction would be. Because some things are vague. Like I picked one of them, and I prefer you not answer my question because I know you know the answer, but you're not voting on this. They are. And you've been around long enough to know that on several occasions I've questioned people voting on things, and based on my discussions and the questions, they did not know what they were voting on. And personally, I think that's wrong. If you don't know what you're voting on, then don't vote on it. So, I mean, like, the first thing
Mr. Finelli, again, and I would say this. I think that if you pick out a specific line or item from a policy that's 8 or 10 pages long and ask a board member, do you understand that exact thing? That might not be an assumption that I would make.
Okay.
I think what I want them to be able to understand is the policies from a generalist standpoint. How do they affect the district? They have to have confidence in the committee that reviews, the two committee members that review the policies and the superintendent, that we're not going to put policies forward that we can't comply with. So a lot of it is, reality is a lot of it is on me. So I will, you know, I don't know if I would say that they should know all the policies exactly as I know them.
Okay.
My responsibility to, as it is theirs as a board, to uphold those policies.
Because, but I'll give you an example. I read, one of my favorite ones is teacher's evaluation.
Which one is that? Oh, 4116?
4116, right?
Got
Teacher
it.
evaluation is one of the things that I've discussed a lot at the school board meetings. I've also showed you school board meetings, people didn't know what they were voting on. And when I read the first line there, it said, evaluation of educators on a regular basis. And I said to myself, well, exactly what does that mean? And what they mean? So I don't want to embarrass anybody by asking
Well,
my
I mean,
question.
see, now that would not be something that a board member would be privy to. They would not know that every certified employee in the district gets X number of evaluations under the new guidelines.
I know that, Mr. Filippone, and I'm not on the school board, and I'm not voting on it.
Right.
But I know what it is because in the past, I've made many comments about 98% of the teachers getting satisfactory performance appraisals is unrealistic. I just have, I'll skip that part because I said a lot tonight. Who on the school board is on the District Evaluation Advisory Committee?
Me.
DIAC, I think Mr. Lamella.
I am, sir.
You are?
Yeah, you use the Marzano,
Okay.
right, Dennis?
Yes, and
That's
it's
what
a,
I followed, that's the forms
it's,
I reviewed, that's what I looked at. They use the Marzano evaluation tool. They go into the classes, teachers are observed for a certain period of time based on their district protocol, whether they're tenured or non-tenured. There's a pre-conference, a post-conference, remediation if needed. Goals, objectives, student growth objectives.
Okay. I want to ask the one question I had about the, now, because I'm going to get up here at the comment section on the end, and I want to stick to just one thing.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask my question about the superintendent search. I read somewhere, and I don't remember where I read it, that Mr. Lamella and somebody else recused themselves from the superintendent search. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay. So there's two people, who is the other person? Two people that are out of that.
Yes.
Did you just attend the meeting that was discussed?
They did not.
No, we
They
sat
were,
in the
they sat in the
hallway.
hallway while the rest of
Okay.
the board members met.
Okay, fine. I know that this question was asked twice, but Mr. Lamella, well, the first time I asked it, Mr. Lamella and you said that you wrote the job posting for the superintendent search. Do you remember that?
Right,
That's on tape.
yeah.
Now, the second time the question was asked by Mrs. Cusinelli when they had the meeting in here, the answer was, no, that was a school board project. Since he's reclused himself, does that cause any problems about he helped put the job posting together?
Not at all, because I'm aware of the
You don't know
situation,
who
and the
applied at that
conflict
time.
only arose after
The
the
applicants
submission of the applications by applicants.
Okay.
So there was no conflict for the participation up until the time the applications came in.
Okay.
Once
You
that
you
conflict
can
arose.
answer this or not answer it. I probably know what you're going to do. But the reason that I read was very foggy. Could you tell me why you recused yourself from it?
No, and I'll instruct them not to, because it could disclose the nature of the conflict, which could also disclose one or more of the applicants that have posted for the position. And that would be inappropriate and an invasion of their privacy, so I instruct them not to answer that.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Mary?
Excuse me?
Oh, no, again, I'm going to butt in for 1 second because there's somebody who's been sitting in the back of the room yeah, you're the only one, don't look around. But we are so pleased. It was my, I guess you get lucky once in a while. I was able to hire John as an assistant principal at Burke High School. He did a remarkable job there. He's done an outstanding job developing a program for truly at-risk kids at Brick Memorial. And we are very fortunate as a district to be promoting Mr. Barisi as the new principal at Veterans Elementary School. And we know you're going to do a great job. So now it's all yours again, Steph.
Well,
I'm
mine
sorry.
again?
Yeah.
Now you vote.
No Republican, Mary?
Ms. Clayton?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. Pacala?
Yes.
Ms. Walrath?
Yes.
Ms. Gagliardi?
Yes.
Ms. Hafner?
Yes.
Mr. Lamella?
Yes.
Public comment? Mr. Campbell?
All right, this is good stuff. All right, you know, I'm always after this academy situation, especially vocational academies. Now, we have the STEM Academy. That took a while to get it going because when we first put it together, we couldn't get some of the administrators on board. And then Dr. Caldez, give the devil his due, just said, hey, go and do it. Because if you didn't do that, we'd still be talking about it. Anyway, there's advanced programs in STEM now that you should start looking into. I'm going to give you, some of you, because I wasn't going to, I'll give you the main people. But anyway, what it is, it's advanced career pathways in STEM. And it's focused on the following areas: aerospace engineering, clean energy technology, energy power, global logistics, health information, informatics, innovation in science and technology, integrated production technologies. And they're working on oil and gas and automated materials joining technologies. These are curriculums that you can put into your school that I guess have been working pretty well in most of your middle and southern state schools, but I think we're a little bit behind at times in this state. But I'd rather see Brick ahead of the curve. And I think these kids, some of them, they're getting bored now. It's time to move on to a more bigger challenge. And I would.
Mr. Campbell, did you provide that to Mr. Ursenko?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you.
But I have another 5 copies. I just don't have the money to be run this stuff off. The other program that I'm interested in, and I think Dennis can help me out with that, I talked about a nursing curriculum. Well, they've come out with one. They started it back in May of 17. This is in Kentucky. It's called Beginning the Bachelor of Science in Nursing in the High School. I only have 1 copy. I'm going to give it to
Mrs.
Mr.
McNamara.
It's got to get run off so the other members can see it. It's because it's something you should really look into. But it's, it's like 16, 17 pages long, so I couldn't give everybody one.
Bless you. Mr. Campbell, just based on what you're saying, and I agree with you in reference to the academies, we're embarking on, and I don't want to put Sue on the spot, but she is very involved with local colleges to develop academies utilizing college courses that I think is going to come to fruition very shortly here in the district.
Right.
And with Ocean County College being a hub actually for four-year degree nurses.
Well, don't forget Georgian Court too. Between the 2 schools, you ought to be able to,
Yeah, so we
together.
are, right, Mrs. McNamara, we're embracing those,
Yes.
good answer.
Yes.
All right.
So we're working on it.
Okay. I gave Mr. Philippone another one, but it's rather complicated. But it's a good syllabus, and you can work off it, and that was commercial residential services.
Have
Bill,
that.
I don't know whether he shared it with any of you yet or not.
Yep.
It's involved, it's been tested, but we got to do something with these kids. And we need a night school with this particular program also. Give these people a chance. I mean, you know, it's long overdue. The other thing that I'm been watching and monitoring are study skills, the lack of them. We're weak on it. And I'd like to see an assessment of the study skills, K to 12. It'd be worth your while. I'm going to give you an introduction to it, table of contents, but once again, I got a notebook, it's about that thick. But not only will you assess the study skills, but you'll go over homework, listening skills, memory skills, taking notes, outlining, reading skills, how to study, taking tests. All the things my grandchildren come home with and get flustered with sometimes. And I got all the spectrums, middle, high, low. And it's one of the foundations. But there's another foundation that I gave stuff back about 2-3 years ago, and I think you've had time to do something with it, and that's the programs that were out there on reading comprehension. I think it's time that we get and see what we have gone here after a couple of years, where we are with reading comprehension. Because if we don't have the study skills, we don't have the reading comprehension, these kids are going nowhere. Computer ain't going to do it. So I'd like to see some action along that lines. So I'll leave that with you.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
Thank you.
I'll make sure they get them.
Get some run out.
Sure.
That's very comprehensive.
Yeah, nursing.
The assessing skills, there's enough for each board to look at. They could take that home and use it on the kids.
Thank you.
I know Mr. Finelli referenced the change in location earlier, but he said that he spoke to you, Mr. Philippone, prior, and I wasn't privy to that answer. Could you share that with me, please?
And I forgot, and I wanted to speak with Mr. Finelli after, because I forgot what perhaps is the most important component of it. When we use, especially Brick Township High School, there were many times where we run into issues with school-based either plays, activities. This allows Brick Township High School's auditorium and Brick Memorial's High School's auditorium to be theirs. They can schedule freely. They don't have to worry about every Thursday, every other, one Thursday a month. If we have special meetings, whatever it might be. In addition to that, it is, I don't know if it's geographically more centrally located than Brick High School, but it is a central location. It is a technically neutral location. It's not affiliated with any building. It's affiliated with a board and with a district. And it's a great facility. We had some quirks, obviously, coming in with the sound system and all of that. But from what I understand, the video recording from the camera that we have is of higher quality than it was with what we were using. This number of folks at Brick High School would look like there was nobody there. You've been at those meetings all the time. And in a setting like this, I think it brings that community closer to the board. So for all of those reasons, and especially for that first one, that, I can't tell you how many times we've had board meetings when the set was up and the kids couldn't have practice or whatever it might be. And it was really my belief, and I think the support of the board, that we wanted to try to not do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Who was it that established the members of the committees? And who is serving on each one?
We have not
Ask now.
put the new committees together yet. We were going based on what, are you talking about this past?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
were just going based on what we were doing before.
Oh, okay, because I thought I heard in an interview that some of the new members had already been put on committees. Okay, maybe I
I
misheard
didn't
that.
put anybody on
Okay.
committees.
Will you maybe put on the website when those are established so that people know, you know,
I
to
see
whom
no-
they should reach out if
As
they have,
long
say,
as
a curriculum
There's no reason
issue?
why
or-
we can't. I see, I don't have, I can do that,
This
yes.
way, you know, I think it's nice for the parents to be able to know
Absolutely.
who to approach with things. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Also, I wanted to thank Mr. Cranston. He did tell me there were 67 applicants for the two principal positions, so just wanted to share that with everybody. One thing that I've been wanting to ask is, I know that we had a very nominal redistricting last year. And is that something that is going to need to continue this year? Will there be any additional changes, even if it's just a few streets based on the
As we're go-
population?
Yeah, Mrs. Cusinelli, as we're going through the budget process, we look at class sizes in all the buildings, because it's an aspect of budgeting, number of students that you have. Right now, it appears that the redistricting was reasonably successful, not 100%, but our class sizes tend to be, we still have some pockets at Vets and even at Herbertsville, where we have class sizes that are a little higher than we would like. Right now, I don't think there's a thought of moving that agenda forward. Again, I think that's something, not passing the buck, that a new superintendent should, consider once that person gets into the district and knows the district. And I think it's important that they'd be part of that decision-making.
Mr. Philippone, if I may, the only other piece, Mrs. Cusinelli, as you're aware, we're continuing to grow Warren H. Wolf Elementary
Right.
School.
Yes,
So there'll be
yes.
an additional grade level there next year, and that will open up the opportunity for students within that sending district now to send their students to Warren H. Wolf as opposed to either Osborneville, Drum Point, or Emma Havens Young.
Could you refresh my memory? What grade level are we up to now with?
We have up to grade 3, so we'll
Okay.
begin testing there this year. And next year
Yay.
we will be, yes, and next year we will be at grade 4.
So you get another school to
Worried.
do all the reports, Mrs.
It-
Yeah.
It's perfect. I'm looking forward to it.
And with regards to the budgeting and the class sizes, do we have any regular ed classes at the high school levels that have less than 10 students in them?
All I can do is speak from my experience as the principal. So I'm not talking about 2018 data. Okay, so I just want you to understand that.
Right,
We did run classes at the high school, AP classes,
right.
with less than 10 students.
But only
at
AP
times.
classes?
In my estimation, maybe a journalism class every once in a while that might have had less than 10. But normally through that, the master scheduling process, if it's that small a class, we certainly would, and that's excluding special ed as well, Mrs. Cusinelli.
No, that's why I specified regular ed,
Yeah,
because I know that there's
right.
different.
So, I mean, most of those classes are AP classes that would have less than 10 students. There may, again, I can't speak 100%. There might be an occasional class that is an elective that's specific to
Right.
a certain genre, like journalism, that could have less, but very few and far between.
Well, with all the funding cuts coming up, maybe that's something that we need to do an evaluation between the two schools and see how many, if any of those classes have less than 10 students, and, you know, a way to maybe get around that, because that's typically not, you know.
You always want to have more than,
Practical.
you want to have more than 10 students in
Yeah.
a class.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And, yep, Mr. Finelli? Yeah, I don't think there was anybody else. Okay.
I think it was a good idea to come here.
That's-
you.
And it's longer for me.
All right.
You're happy, I'm happy.
I don't know about it. I look for things to say when something is good, and when they're good, I'll say it.
appreciate
And
that.
I don't like
I'm
change.
I'm
and this-
teasing.
This
I'm
is,
teasing.
this is further for me, but I think it was a good decision.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to do something a little different from my summary here, and I have no more questions. All right, so
So they're comments.
their comments, all right. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do, first of all, let me read the first paragraph, all right? The first sentence. Being a new school year and some new school board members, I want to share some information with you, all right? And what I'm going to ask you to do, and this is really tough, I'm going to ask you to listen to what I'm saying and forget who's saying it, all right? I know that's not going to be easy, but I want you to listen to the information that I'm giving you.
Maybe Mary should
Forget
read
that
it.
it's coming from me. And you can
Fallon.
ask questions if you want. You want to interrupt me, raise your hand, all right?
Maybe Mary should read it.
Say what?
Maybe Mary should read it. No? Go ahead, sorry.
Some of this information is public, general information, and some of it is my personal information because I can't speak for anybody but myself, right? And when I get into the topic, you'll understand why. Does anybody know how many senior citizens there are in Brick? And for senior citizens, we'll use 60 plus.
One. I know there's at least one. Or two, you and I.
Yeah. No, but take,
I don't know, no, I don't.
WSAG.
No idea.
I thought this was comments, not questions.
Yeah, right, we're not supposed, I'm not answering because you're commenting.
Okay, 18,000. And that information I got yesterday from Joanne Bergen's office, all right? So it's 18,000, 60-plus citizens in Brick right now. I wish I could all have them all standing behind me, because then maybe you do what I asked you to do. There's about 77,000 residents in Brick, roughly. Both of these numbers are approximate, but close enough. Again, from her office. That means that 23% of the population in Brick is over 60, right? It's probably safe to assume that nobody up here is collecting Social Security. Safe to assume? Okay. Mr. DeMello looks like he's going to fall asleep.
No, sir, I'm good. I'm just write down the numbers.
This year, residents receiving Social Security received a 2% increase. That's the first increase Social Security got in 3 years. 2% in 3 years. The amount deducted for my Medicare on my Social Security, I don't know if you're aware, but when you get your Social Security, the first thing they do is take out your Medicare payment, because Medicare is not free. And the second thing they do is take out your Part D, your prescription, because that is also not free. Even though you're retired, you still have to pay into that, okay? So, for my Medicare, and I'm speaking me personally now, the Medicare insurance went up, what I have to pay, 19%. My personal one, 19%. Now, this is not counting the United Healthcare backup that I have through ARP, which is a totally separate thing, all right? The prescription Part D drug plan on mine, again, went up 56% this year. 56%. I have a middle-of-the-road PDP. I don't have a Cadillac one, and I don't have the cheapest one. I got a middle-of-the-road one, all right? Some of them are much higher, some are lower, but I have the middle-of-the-road one, right? I received maximum Social Security because I worked my whole life, which is almost $2,400 a month. Me personally, I give half of that in taxes, half of it, right? And I'm not trying to tell you I'm living on Social Security by myself, right? Anyone like to guess what my total increase take home in Social Security was from last year to this year after those increases? $2.70. Not just about enough to buy Dunkin' Donuts, coffee, and a donut once a month, right? Now, I pretty much mirror the general population in Social Security because I have to struggle to keep my income below the level where you pay a penalty. I don't know if anybody realizes that, but if you make X amount of money, and I think the amount is $80,000, then you pay a penalty and you pay more money for the Medicare and you pay more money for the Part D prescription, right? I managed to keep mine under that, but not by much, because I am now over 70 and a half, so I have to take money out whether I want to or not. And they tell me how much I take out, just like my taxes, all right? Why am I doing this? What am I up here telling you this for? Because you people this year are going to be doing contracts, and everybody else, you're going to be dealing with the people who say, I don't want to pay more for my medical, I don't want to pay more to my retirement, I want this raise, I want that raise. You know, I've harped on it when you're giving out contracts 3 or 4 years, 2%, 3% a year. I'm not giving you anything new. So you're going to be doing a budget, you're going to be doing those contracts, and who are you going to be asking to pay for that? 1 out of 4 people got about $2.70 raise in their Social Security. They're the ones you're going to be asking to pay. So what is this? This is a reality check. I want you to know what reality is, not what you think it is or what the unions want to tell you it is or what everybody else is. This is reality. This is what 1 in 4 people in Brick are going through right now. Now, you probably, based on our new governor, you're probably not going to get as much money as you got last year. I'm guessing, but you're probably not going to get as much money.
You're
right?
right.
Now, the cap on negotiations for the firemen and the police wasn't renewed, so that 2% cap went away this year. But the cap on real estate taxes didn't go away. That 2% is still there, right? And I know there's enough things in that thing that you can do a lot of wiggle room, right? But I'm talking about 18,000 people, I wish I could get 10 of them here to stand behind me and say, you got to be thinking about this when you're doing contract negotiations, when you give out an extra $6,000 to somebody. And I can't stand up here and tell you that I can tell you how to save $100,000 in one shot, because you can't do that. You got to be chipping away every time at the money. You got to be looking at when somebody leaves and you automatically go to replace them. Well, we've already talked many times about the enrollment, and the enrollment is going to continue to go down for another 5 years, and God forbid if you get your money based totally on your enrollment, all right? The last thing, that's that. Thank you for listening. One other thing I want to mention. Does anybody know how many superintendents we've had in the last 17 years?
Oh,
I was
lot.
looking at that the other day. I didn't think I finished counting.
10?
Yeah.
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 Okay. Right. And I think it's been 5 since I've been coming here, which isn't that long.
Right.
So we've had 10 superintendents in the last 17 years, which comes out to, what, 1.7 average years? So now you know why I ask questions about interims and actings and all of those things. If you do one thing this year, do it right, getting an interim superintendent that is going to bring some stability to the school district and spend some time here and implement things and get them done and move the school district along.
I'm confident that that's going to happen. I am. There's been a lot of different circumstances. The 10 superintendents, there's been a lot of things that have happened.
And some of those 10 have been interim superintendents.
Correct.
And I understand that, but 10 in 17 years
Lot.
is like, that's
Well,
craziness.
I'll tell you this, it's too many. Too many. Very, 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 and just as a comment, can I comment on your comment real quick? And it's not controversial at all. I have a mom, 88-year-old mom that lives in Princeton Commons, who has no trouble, and I don't say this disrespectfully, keeping her income under $80,000, who lives on, basically about $1,800 a month. So I definitely understand that. I know what she goes through. I know the struggles that she faces every day to buy the kids, Christmas presents and whatever that many of us take very much for granted. So she always tells me Mr. Edwards owes her 10 years of pay for the work she's done over at Brick High School, but I don't think she's going to get that. So I do understand that piece of what you're saying.
I'm going to do the same thing at the town council meeting next week. So if you want to see her twice. But I'll leave you with this closing comment, right? There's all of this talk about opioids and everything else. It's all out there, all this, all that, all the other thing. I have an article here that I cut out of the paper, and it says, alcohol abuse soars for older Americans. New studies suggest a public health crisis. And what they did on the bottom is they broke out, but by the way, drinking is what they call dangerous drinking, the percentage of alcohol use disorder, that's a new word for it, alcohol use disorder, is going up, right?
Yes.
And the age group, the national average is 49%. The 45 to 64 is 81% increase from the last 10 years. And here's the big one, 65 and plus, up 108% in the last 10 years, alcohol abuse. Why? One of the reasons why, recent economic stress in older Americans. Don't have anybody for anything else, I might as well start drinking. Now, alcoholism is still a bigger problem than opioids in the United States. I don't know if you realize that.
Right, and it's not just and you're right, it's not an opioid summit tomorrow. It's a summit on substance abuse.
I have no problem with that. Nothing. I don't even have any problem with you changing the meeting so you could be there. I don't think they'd have a better facilitator. And I want to thank you all for listening to my windy presentation. And I hope that you just remember it when you're doing those negotiations and giving out those pay raises, that every time you do it, 1 in 4 people, including your mom, unfortunately, neither you or her vote on any of this stuff.
Oh, she does. Oh, not here, no.
She might vote for people.
Right.
She doesn't vote for.
She never misses an election. Thank you, Mr. Finelli.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Board comment? Anyone? Board comment?
Yeah, good. And I just want to say thank you to the community for supporting me. I look forward to working with this board. I believe that we have an excellent board here. I know we can push Brick Township forward, and I'm looking forward to working with you over the next few years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I just want to say a few things. I just hope everybody had a very happy and healthy holiday season and new year. I wanted to also congratulate and welcome all of our new hires and say thank you and best wishes to all of our retirees. I'd like to welcome Mrs. Foster and Mrs. Clayton to the board. I look forward to working with the both of you. I hope you have a great experience serving on the Brick Board of Education. In this past month, I was able to attend a wonderful chorus concert at Betts Middle School. They actually had so many family and friends in attendance, they actually ran out of chairs. So I'm hoping that maybe since this program is growing so quickly under Mr. Krajic's direction, that maybe they can move to one of the high schools for future concerts like the band does there. So and I'm just very thrilled to see that the arts are thriving at that middle school. I was also able to attend my daughter's holiday party, and just wanted to say there is really just nothing better than seeing your own child and all the other children just overflowing with excitement for the holidays. So, you know, it's really great to always see that in the children. That's why we are here. So, and I also just wanted to thank all the schools that participated in the Students Change Hunger Food Drive. The schools, some of them held food collections and then donated them to our local food banks. So I love that they have a commitment to fighting the hunger issues that we have. So thank you for everybody attending tonight, and I look forward to seeing all of the great things that will come about in 2018. Thank you.
Thank you, Daisy. Anyone else, or we?
Ms. Clayton?
I'll say something. I would just like to also thank everyone for, believing in me and voting, and I hope that I serve everyone well, and I hope that everyone, we all work together well on the board as well. Thanks.
I'd just like to say I'm so glad to have new people with us, and I'm just going to ask the president to please consider this year doing something to improve the format of the meetings that we hold here. It's a daunting task, but I know you're up for it. And thank you.
Rita?
Yes, Happy New Year, everyone. I just want to welcome our two new board members. I'm just looking forward to, continuing to move Brick in a positive direction. This first year being on the board was an eye-opening experience, and I can say that I've had an opportunity to be surrounded with people who care and love the children here in Brick, and I just hope that we continue to keep the children here in Brick first and move forward in a positive way.
Thank you. It is nice to get to sit and really listen to a meeting for the first time in 2 years. Thank you, Stephanie, for taking on the role of president. Thank you, Melita, for being a vice president. I wasn't here last month. I had a commitment, and I didn't get a chance to thank Karen and John Barton, and I publicly want to thank both of them. Or Sharon, I messed them up for the last 10 years. I'll keep messing it up. I've known her since her son Jared went to Brick Township, and she was always a good person and always gave me good advice, and she did the same when she was here. So when I hear some people throw stones at times or what they want to believe, I want to thank her, and I like her, and I really appreciate what she did for me. John Barton welcomed me as a board president and did everything he could serving on the facilities committee to the best of his ability and giving me some advice when I needed it as well. So I want to thank him. I wasn't here, and I want everybody to know that. Tonight I got to listen, and having a toe in education, I am scared to death at what was said here. Scared to death. So now I get to talk as a non-president. We want class sizes that don't run below 10 if they're not APs or more. We'd like to have a STEM academy, a career pathways, academic challenges, possibly nursing, articulation agreements with colleges, including with Dr. Jackson at OCC, the tuition rates at OCC and Georgian Court and what could be done, commercial and residential services, study skills, testings, assessment, senior citizens only getting a $2.70 raise overall. We have an approximate $3 million coming up for facilities because we have roofs that are old and we've put projects off for years because we've had to through no fault of our own, everyone who's been here before us. And we all want to do this taking into consideration the 1 in 4 people that only gets $2.70. All while thinking of something that Melita said, moving children forward and putting our children first. It is a daunting task. Whether there's an increase, no increase, understand my in-laws live here too. And I hear it. I hear it. But at the end of the day, our charge is kids. That's what we need to move forward. So we need to look at some of the academies. We need to look at the pathways. We need to look at what we're doing from a vocational standpoint, overall class size, while managing all the buildings we have to manage, while trying to keep class size low, but high in other buildings. But don't redistrict, because if you redistrict, then people are going to come out and get you because they're going to want to move your kids to a different school. Boy, I learned the most tonight I've learned in 2 years. It's a task that I've got to listen to every committee person talk about and ask Tom and Dennis about and Jim Edwards. And it's a lot. And I see people smiling at me because it's a lot. And you're right, Mr. Finelli. I don't know where to take $100,000 in one shot. I don't. And I sit and I look at the budget and I try to talk to Jim and work with him and Dennis. And I think they're looking too. And do those same teachers who are paying for medical, who we all criticize, and I know it's the Cadillac plan, deserve, some of them haven't gotten raises in 3, 4, 5, or 6 years, or my son left his district because he would have had no raise for 6. So he is one of those kids who was a pretty good teacher and left for that $10,000 or $13,000 up the road. In tears because he loved where he was at. But at 26, it's a tough decision. So those teachers deserve a raise too. And I'm looking at all this trying to figure out how to do it. So you're right. You said it a few meetings ago, Mr. Finelli, when the podium was here. Good luck to all of you figuring out how you're going to do it because you know they're going to cut your funding. So all of us have that charge. I hope I can do for whatever committees I'm on the best I can, and I'll go wherever you put me. to make sure the kids come first. We have to value our teachers and administrators. We have to keep in mind our citizens and our taxpayers. And I thank you for allowing me to be long-winded, because I got to sit and listen tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Okay, I'm not going to go on and on. Welcome to our new board members. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. I look forward to working with all of you again, and thank you for the honor of being the president of the board. You know, in my family, when we get loud, it's usually because we're passionate and we care about something that we're discussing. And there was definitely a lot of passion here tonight, and I appreciate it. And I hope that you reach out to me if you have suggestions. You don't have to wait until the meeting. If you see something when the agenda comes out, please email. We are here. We'll get back to you on the email. Mr. Campbell, I would love to sit down with you and talk to you about and you have such history, and I would love to hear what you have to say about some of these different things. So I hope you and I could get together and talk a little bit about that. I'd love to pick your brain, and I'll work my way up to Mr. Finelli. But I'm teasing. I appreciate all your comments. But thank you all for being here tonight and for caring so much about our children and our community. It really is great, as we all do here sitting on the board. So, January 15th, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, schools closed. January 26th, Staff Professional Development Day, staff and Emma Haven Young students only. February 8th is our regular meeting, 7 p.m. here. Can I get a motion to?
Motion to adjourn,
Second.
please.
Ms. Clayton?
Yes.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Ms. Bacala?
Yes.
No, that's fine.
Ms. Walrath?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Ms. Gagliardi?
Yes.
Ms. Hatfield?
Yes.
Mr. Lamella?
Yes.
Look in my eyes.
That's the wrap.